So I would love to welcome all of you here. Thank you for coming on this beautiful February 17th of 2024, 18th, where you're at, Danella, in beautiful Australia. Wow, so much to cover today. And I'm feeling these changes that have been coming up and occurring, and it's just time. It's time to share it. I've shared it one-on-one with people that I've met or I've connected with, and some of you individually sessions as you're reconfiguring as well. But the way the flow of this Zoom call is going to go is, first of all, I'm going to go through and speak a little bit to what's happening energetically, the changes that are occurring. And then we will go into a Q&A if you have any questions or things you want to clarify from what I've shared or what you're experiencing. We'll cover that because I really do want to make sure that you all have a solid understanding, at least conceptually, and as you continue to experience what is occurring. So if there is any questions, any clarifications, every question is valid. Do not think that it is too big or too small of a question to ask, because we're covering a lot of things here, and I'm sure a lot of other people are wondering the same questions that will get answers that they're seeking based on what you're sharing. Then after we go through the Q&A, we're going to move over to a group healing session in a sense where we will go through and identify specifically what you individually and also those that have chosen into the call are asking to shift, and also give you a sense of centering and stability within the energy that is shifting. So I don't know exactly what that will look like yet. And I always say I don't know until I go, which is true. Once I tap in, everything becomes very clear, and that portion will not be shared later, that portion, except with this group. And so I will go ahead and release some of the summary of what is happening, because I feel like it's really valuable information. But the healing portion is going to just remain confidential within this beautiful group that's gathering, and those that couldn't make it on the call but have chosen in, and I'll share that with you as well. So we'll go through those sections. I did say that it's going to be an hour. It may go a little bit over. Hopefully that works for you. If it doesn't and you need to jump off, I'm happy to share the recording in its entirety with those of you that are joining us this evening. So I will begin by telling you what's happening. So the best way to describe this, and I hinted towards it in the email that I sent out, or the social media that I shared in the post, there's a shift happening between timelines and interdimensionality. I know those are both really big concepts on their own, and I'm going to break it down to a way that is easier to understand and make sense of what is happening, because I know all of you know, like, this is nuts. Like, whatever is happening right now. I mean, one way that it looks like to me, it's like somebody got a snow globe and just shook it up, and everything's all over the place, and you're waiting to see where it lands. And it's not landing where it used to be. It's landing in ways as it's reconfiguring. And honestly, as I also mentioned, this is exciting in a lot of ways, because we need a change. We need a change in the way that things have been. We want to shift to higher dimension energy. And also, the thing that I love most about the timeline shifting to the interdimensionality is we'll be able to have a better center of our own energy with other energies just interjecting. So when I talk about timelines, the way that has been historically is similar to, I want you to picture a roadway, and a roadway that we all share. So if you picture a road going out and then everybody else is trying to use that same roadway to go wherever they're going, you get a lot of congestion, like traffic jams. This is happening within a larger energy where it felt like people were trying to bulldoze over over some of us. I mean, it wasn't even safe to go out driving sometimes. I felt like people were just coming into my own lane, literally, not just energetically. So there was a lot of energy overlapping, and it just felt like there were no boundaries. So even if you were good at boundaries were being tested in every direction. So picture just kind of one level that everybody's driving on. That's the way that timelines were, and there was a lot of predictability. At least it felt like where you were going, and you could do a lot of things on repeat. Now, timelines will still exist in this energy as it shifts, but it's going to exist differently. And the biggest distinction between that is within shifting into dimensionality, the way to picture this is suddenly, instead of having one road that everybody's going on and it's getting very congested, especially with, I mean, it just felt like there was so much chaos, especially from eclipse season last fall to solstice, December 21st. And then everything started moving from there. It's like everything had to get really uncomfortable. And as it's reforming, what I'm seeing is you may have heard the terminology of, third dimension, fourth dimension. And a lot of times that is actually how we see things, as far as if you have a shape. Oh, this is 3D, this is 2D, which is flat, and 3D has some form. And then when we shift into energy, you get to fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth. And those to me are very much like a building. So if you picture a building that has floors, first floor, second floor, third, fourth, fifth, and going up. I mean, if people are hanging out in ninth and 10th dimension, they're probably not very connected to Earth, which I've met people like that. They're wonderful, but that's just where they're existing. But for me, I do like to be able to access a lot of different levels. That way I can be effective, because if I'm too far up here, I can't come down here and sit with the people and be with the people and make the difference that I'm here to make, and be the purpose that I'm choosing to. Do I like to go retreat to those upper levels? Yes, I do. And that is really important to recharge. But the biggest distinction that we're settling into is we're deciding which one of those levels we want to exist primarily on. So as far as the main collective on Earth right now, I find that's mostly fourth dimension. And we felt that evolution occurring. I think a lot of that started to shift around 2012. There was a big shift back then, way back then. It's not really that long ago. And from there, I find the fourth dimension qualities are a lot of people that have questioned the narrative, or just say, wait, that doesn't make sense to me, or that doesn't feel right to me. They're starting to pay attention. And there is people still wandering around in the third dimensionality. A lot of those, you know, they're here. They're here for a purpose, but they really don't they don't care about anything except what is happening from their own inner scope. A lot of times it's just empty on repeat, as if they're playing the same thing over and over, and they don't question anything. And I mean, you might historically call them sheep, but hey, you know what? We've all been sheep before. I have followed some trails, and I have drank some Kool-Aid, and that Kool-Aid gave me some gastrointestinal issues spiritually, to say the least. But where we're at now, we're settling into where we want to be. And what I love about that, especially all of you on this call are empaths. Okay. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to point that out. And people that are going to listen in on that, in on this, are going to also be the empaths. we love each other, and we do find each other. I know narcissists love empaths too, so hopefully they're just staying over on their lane. But really tuning into the energy of empaths and what we need and what we're asking for. We need some space to be ourselves and to expand without picking up on everything. And we're getting that ask within this new dimensionality. So what happens within this is a lot of people will stay in different places where they're at, and you'll settle into something a little bit higher, like fourth and fifth. I usually find we move between two dimensions interchangeably quite easily, that we exist in our day-to-day and where we like to be. But the good news is about that is even when you settle into that, if you're settling into fifth, sixth, or seventh, then you can come down almost like you're coming down the stairs or the elevator to the other dimensions. So you're not so disconnected, but you can also go back up to where you want to be and where is vibrationally aligned with you without staying down there. A lot of times we've kind of been like staying within the energy collective, and it's been very uncomfortable. This is going to differentiate the collective that you're in and what you can exist in. And even though you're walking around and there's people all around you that may be existing in a different dimension, they're going to stay in their own energy field. So this is creating a distinction where, and it looks different than an aura. An aura is very much kind of an egg type shape. This energy of distinction, it's almost like an outline of your form and your body that gives you this extra layer of distinction of where you're going in the world and the world around you. So you can walk next to somebody and they can't interject and as easily as they used to. I mean, if you're having a day where you're not quite sure where you're grounded, they can still come in. And that's one reason why we want to solidify you within this call and within this healing component as well, so that you can really be in that energy. Stay in your own lane, like stay in your own lane and have that peace to be where you're at. And what I love about this too, is it's going to be easier to see, attract, and interface with others that are more like you, that resonate within that. Because right now it's a lot of noise. When you have all of these people and their energies, it creates a lot of noise. And you'll be able to start to tap into an energetic resonance that is more like you. And this is how we're really coming in together with a beautiful sense of community of those that resonate and give us that sense of a warm hearth and what we're truly seeking, because we need people, we need community. As much as there's times that I'm just like, hey, I want to isolate. That's not how we were ever intended to exist. We're very tribal in nature within that sense of community. And even somebody in my community made this glass for me to drink my water out of, even if it came from somewhere completely different. That is still evidence of the fact that we do live within community essence and are meant to. Those supply chains that come through. But the supply chains spiritually are really what want to form now. I love that. And that's one reason why I said this is uncomfortable right now, but it's exciting. It's like we're going into a closet, we're ripping everything out, and it looks like a big mess right now. It really does, with the energy of deciding what stays and what goes. But within this, be intentional of what that looks like in the end. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's going to leave that you may think you want to stay. But your energy field and what you're choosing, it's going to leave anyways. So I'm just encouraging you right now to anything that you're clinging to, that you feel like is part of your identity or part of a necessity, please don't leave, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whatever. There's so many different ways that can manifest. Let it leave. Because what I do know is as things are course correcting, which I see this as a larger course correction, things shift. But things are trying to shift into place. Don't get in the way. Another way to look at this is like rungs on a ladder, and understanding that you go up like one rung on the ladder at a time, and you're not existing on multiples, and really saying, this is where I'm at right now, and feeling solid in it. And then understanding that it's there may be people that are on lower rungs, and I hope that they come up. I hope that they climb up. This doesn't mean that people are destined to stay in one dimension or another, but it means that there is a distinction so that we can each thrive within the energy that we're choosing. So the timelines I was speaking of earlier, they'll exist within each of those dimensions, but they have different types of outcome that are attached to them, and you can choose. I mean, it's not that there's ever just one path that you're stuck on. There's always multiple paths. But the nice thing is there's a lot less booby traps of other things coming in and trying to interject. Now, one of the biggest difficulties that I see coming up with this is there are lower dimensional energies that are clinging on for dear life, that want you to stay with them. Stay here with us, stay here with me. And the way that those energies are showing up, people is that's one way that it's showing up. But also, even things like viruses or parasites or bacteria that have a different lower vibrational frequency, that stuff is clinging on too. So there's a lot of people that are having these onsets of symptoms that they thought were gone a long time ago. This is that energy coming up that is asking to be escorted out. And so there are things coming up saying, wait, I have a place here, like trying to stake its claim as well. And so part of this energy is lifting you up out of that so that you can find a distinction within yourself and your identity without that. And another way to look at that, to understand how these first and second dimensional energies are, and I'm talking energetically, I'm not talking, a paper and diagrams, I'm talking energetically here, is understanding that you may be 95% free, but that small percentage is like a snare or even like a bear trap on your foot that says this 5% is stuck, so the rest of you is stuck. That's a very real thing. So that energy that's just trying to keep you there is inhibiting you settling in to the higher energies. So there's a real struggle right now vibrationally of energy wanting you to stay with it. I mean, I've said before, misery loves company. We know this. But guess what? Healing loves company. Joy loves company. Don't you just love it when you're in a good mood and you find somebody else in a good mood? Isn't that the best feeling ever? Like let's tap into that. The other thing that I want to also, I hope you're keeping your questions to the side here, and we'll jump into those in a minute. But the other thing is going to be really clear is coming to a sense of that's me, that's not me. And this is going to take your cognitive awareness within it. And it's even happening to me. I am just like, what the hell was that? Like, that's not me. and it's almost laughable, some of the behaviors or thoughts of, and it's just like this aha moment and clarity and no judgment about it. I mean, that's just how I've been existing. That's how I've been coping. That's how I felt with these other energies interjecting that I thought were my own, that just they're not. I mean, that's one of the next things I'm going to step into is a survival guide for empaths, because that's real, differentiating what is yours. So, but mainly looking into your own character, your own thoughts, and things that you may be used to, asking yourself, like, wow, is that me? Is that not me? And starting to get clarity on that. It's going to be easier. And it's also going to be uncomfortable to some degree. Like, wow, that's how I've been behaving, and seeing yourself from a different view. Or like, good job, that is how I am behaving and how I want to be. So a lot of that's going to settle, but what we're going to do a lot within the last portion of this call is separate that energy that's trying to cling on to you and pull that out wherever it may be existing, where it's coming from, and we'll tap into that so that you can really settle into where you want to be and say, this is my home, and I can go visit other places. This is my home. This is my sanctuary. This is my center of peace. This is where I love to be. This is where I invite the people I love most. But also understanding some of the people you love most might be coming, and you might be existing in a different dimension with them, and you can love them where they're at, which is a beautiful thing too. Like, don't have too much judgment about where people choose to be. I think that's the other thing that's beautiful about this is honoring people where they're at on their path. There is nothing wrong with what they're choosing. It's what they're choosing, and they may choose something differently. But for now, like, what a beautiful thing that they get to experience and grow at their own pace and what works for them. And if they want to stay where they're at, good for them. It's like trying to judge somebody who's decided to work at the same supermarket since they were 16 until they retire. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what they've chosen. It may not make sense to somebody like, oh, they've passed up promotions. They were content. There's nothing wrong with that. So just understanding energetically too, it's not about accomplishing, it's about honoring, and mostly within this, honoring where you're at and protecting your energy and your center of peace. No is a complete sentence. If somebody asks you to do something, like, understand there doesn't have to be a lot of things after that word. Like, hey, do you want to do this? No. And yes is a complete sentence too. You're going to have opportunities. Things are going to come up, and you're going to be like, do I want to do that? Yes. A lot of times the answer is yes. If it's something that is so far out of left field that you don't understand where this invitation is coming from, it's probably a good idea to accept and try something different. I'm trying things different right now that are blowing my own mind. So, I mean, for so long, I've just been sitting here, do distance sessions only. And now I'm in the space of, wow, I think it's time to do more in-person things. I'm learning foot zoning, and I have to actually be with and touch people to do that. So be open to what that looks like, and what wants to shift and change for you. So there's going to be invitations to stay. There's going to be invitations to move forward. Pay attention. Pay attention to what those are. Wow, Mariko, did I put you to sleep already? Sorry. Okay, so with that, that's just the general overlay of what is happening. It's more something to experience, but it's good to kind of know what's happening. I mean, it's like the olden days when we look at a map before we go there and try to get an idea of how it went. And or the steps, or even even on the GPS where you look in and you say, okay, it's going to take me this long to get here, and I take this freeway or this freeway. We're kind of plugging into that of where we want to go and where we want to be from where we're at right now. But a lot of it is happening, and there's no stopping it. So we may as well lean into it versus just feeling the impact of the chaos that a lot of people are experiencing as things are falling away and things are coming in. So with that said, what's another way to describe it? I'm seeing like a puzzle. If you see a puzzle and it's got a certain picture on it, then you take the puzzle apart, and now you've got a different picture on it, and then it goes back together, but it's a different picture when it's put back together. So there's a lot changing, and it's happening whether we want it to or not. So let's just kind of be with it and also get the support you need, which is one reason why you're listening in. All right, so I would like to open up to questions now, and you could either just speak out loud. I mean, you can raise your little hand if you want to on the screen, but just feel free to just talk.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Amy. I really enjoyed that. And I suppose what came up for me was understanding what's coming up for healing and transference, because there's been a pattern through my life where when I'm not centered, I have car accidents.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a situation last Sunday where I was with a group of people who I thought were my community. And then as I left the car park, I've got a fairly new car. I wasn't very grounded, but I hit the car. I did be damage to my car. And I was so shocked. And I thought, oh, how did that happen? And someone suggested to me it's my anger that I'm pushing down that's presenting itself. And I've just been sitting with that all week.
Wow. Well, I think in some ways you answered your own question as you were speaking, because you were at the place where you thought they were your community, and then when you left, you said you weren't centered, and so you basically damaged your actual vehicle that you're driving in. Well, your body is very much the vehicle that your soul exists in and drives in. So that to me is just a manifestation of what you were feeling, like to your physical body with what was happening in that, or to your soul. Because you're basically, when you're driving the car, it's like you're a soul and that's the body. Oftentimes I'll look at that as far as spirit, mind, and body. The spirit's driving the car is the body, and the mind is everything in it that makes it go in between. And so it is true that you weren't centered, but also it was like absolute feedback immediately that this is damaging to me.
So is that my insecurity or my intuition?
It's a little bit of both, and that's a really good point. That's actually a topic I want to cover, is it coming from my intuition or from my insecurity, and differentiating that. So that's a whole other topic that would be beautiful to dive into. But I think it's more an acute awareness of this, like a physical manifestation instantaneously. That's feedback. It's feedback more than cause and effect, as far as what I'm tapping into. It's feedback of that I left there feeling wounded. And you did. You left there feeling wounded. That now, within the energy that's shifting, one thing that's positive about that for you and what you're experiencing is you'll be able to go into that type of environment and leave unscathed in what's shifting and changing. So that is one specific distinction that I think is really useful to what is shifting and changing, because you want to still go be social. You want to do the things. You love the activities. And there's something that we do gain from that. But to be able to walk into a room and then leave unscathed, that's the goal. That's the point of the reconfiguration that's happening. So I think that will change for you as far as historically being a pattern, but it's just, to me, that just sounds like feedback more than misalignment or anger or confusion. It's just feedback immediately of how you feel. Like your car is just an extension of you saying, wow, that was uncomfortable. And you keep seeing that on your car. Your car is actually really just reminding you, like, take care of you, take care of yourself. And we can be repaired, which is the great news too. But anyway, I think that was a good experience, a really good awareness too. That's, you're being asked, like, is this me? Is this not me? But don't internalize it too much. Try to look at it from a different perspective of, wow, like, what was that showing me? But your car will feel much better and more secure, not feeling so crowded. So, oh yeah, who do I want to be? Leslie is asking. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. So hopefully I answered your question. Anybody else have anything they want to interject? Yeah, and be the change. Like go in there and be in the good mood, be the positive shift, be that unapologetically. Because just as much as they can affect you adversely, you can affect them positively. And if you can't, then great, they were uncomfortable while you were joyful. I don't know, right?
Amy, I have a question about the timing
Okay.
of this change, and is it part of a bigger change, or why now? Maybe you don't know, but I just.
Oh, I do know. Yeah.
You do? Okay.
So the timing of it is there's a bigger energy involved in this. Just like I said, 2012, there was a really big shift at that time. A lot of people started waking up. Now, what I'm seeing with this timing is the main energy. I don't feel like it was something that was predetermined of, oh, this is going to happen. It was more something that came up as, okay, it's ripe and this is going to work, and this is how we're going to do it. This is how we start creating a new earth type energy without having to start over. It's almost like we're continuing our process with all of our knowledge without having to go through like a death rebirth. It's like a rebirth while we're still alive. And that's one reason why it feels a little bit uncomfortable. But it's mainly just that it was actually good timing and the earth and the inhabitants were ready. Otherwise, this couldn't be happening right now. And the timeline when it started to really shift was solstice, December 21st. And that's really building up to spring equinox, which is March 19th. And I love that timeline for that, because to really think about, and except, I mean, Danella, for you, you're going into the other shift, which is also good. You're going into summer to fall to winter, which is a quietness and a releasing as well. So they both have such beautiful pinnacle energies of where they're at and what they're going to be shifting into. But within that, we're really just coming into, I find that the equinoxes and solstice and those, I mean, there's a reason why the ancient people were so tapped into that. That's why they did certain events and holidays based on that or around that, because they were really tapped into the innate nature of the cycles of the earth, of life, of the seasons. They were so tapped into that, even more than what we are. So we're coming back to that sense. I find we're tapping into that, which is really beautiful. I mean, you see these ancient structures that were built so that one day in a year, which was like an equinox or solstice, the light would shine through on a certain wall and light something up. Like the ancients knew this, and we're just catching back up to the ancient technology. From the way I see it, the oneness of and the awareness of that connection and what we can gain from that. It's really a beautiful energy and a beautiful dynamic within that. But the timing is because it was time and we were ready, and the influx of most of the energy, it's almost like a birth, a preparation for birth, and going through the gestation process, and then, okay, here's this birth now. So we're in somewhat of a gestation process while we're still going about our daily lives as well. But it is a creation. It is a creation process, and that's the timeline that I'm seeing. So people should start to settle more into where they're choosing to be, and feeling more comfortable in our skin where we're at as well.
And how do we choose?
You're choosing right now, Julie. This is how you choose. You intentionally start to tap into what you want to see, like what feels good to me, and saying yes and saying no, and being cognizant of that, but also just tapping into your heart. This isn't about obligation. This is not about really doubling down on your obligations. I find the obligations, it's really interesting. The thoughts that come through my head as I'm walking or wandering around. But asking myself, like, do I really believe that a positive change can come, or am I double dog daring God or the universe to prove it to me? It's like that proving it is such an old concept that is so man-made of I'm going to prove this and needing it to be proved. And I mean, believe and receive. I mean, that's really become the new motto within me, of believe and receive. Because if I don't believe, I'm not open. So be open to what wants to come, and ask yourself, like, wow, do I really believe I can have this? And the answer needs to be yes. The answer needs to be yes. Like this isn't about proving. We've had to prove ourselves, and it's painful. That is a man-made concept of needing to prove approval, disapproval. The universe always says yes. So what do you want it to say yes to? Just be with it. Believe and receive. If you've asked for a miracle, I mean, you've heard the saying, faith precedes the miracle. I think that's true. The universe can't give you something that you truly believe it will not give you. And if you're daring it to prove it to you, that's you've lost the point of what being given love freely really looks like. So just understanding, we're stepping into more of that innate energy of, wow, I do deserve to feel more alive. I do deserve to feel healthy in my body. I do deserve love. I do deserve prosperity. I do deserve joy. Like, you do. There's nothing to prove. Your mere existence is proof enough. So that's about the timing, and then just some of my other thoughts that this has sparked as I'm stepping into this. Any other questions, Julie?
No. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Question: what causes psoriasis? All right. Haven't seen it clearly yet. Okay. Psoriasis, really uncomfortable in your own skin. Really uncomfortable in your own skin. And what I find with that, and we can look into some of the larger dynamics that are happening to you manifesting physically, because I really do feel like there's been energy that feels like attacks, and then there's energy that feels like invitation for transformation. There is a difference depending on what's happening. For yours, it feels like some of that Klingon energy that, and I'm not, no misrepresentation to Star Trek fans. I wasn't talking about Klingons because they're cool, but the energy of the old energy that wants to cling on, that's the energy. And it has that lower first, like it's just clinging on. It's like, no, you belong here, stay here with me. It's like a really bad breakup. So we'll work on that when we work on the healing portion. All right. Any other questions before we move into the healing portion, which is, wow, we've covered a lot of ground. And you won't understand it all immediately. Like you'll be experiencing it, and there's going to be moments of wonderment and WTF, both. It's great.